Today I'm going to show you how you can create a continuous delivery pipeline using your GitHub to your EC2 instances. So let's get started, and the first thing we need to do is add permissions for your user. So in order to do that, you can go into the IAM service. I'll go into the users and I'll add some permissions over here. For it, I'll go into attach existing policies and I'll search for CodeCommit and I'll provide full access, and then I'll again select CodePipeline and then I'll add this policy as well. I'll go to next, review, and then I'll add the permissions. So this is the first step that we need to do. Make sure that you already have the keys for this user and everything for this user already set up, and then we need to create some rules for it. So in order to do that, what I'll do is I'll go into the role section, and the first thing I need to do is create a role for EC2 instance in order to access the S3 bucket. So I'll search for S3 and I'll select this Amazon S3 read-only access, and I'll go to next, tags. I'll skip this step and then I'll name it, give it a name. So I'll give it a name EC2 S3 Code Deploy. And I'll create this instance. Now if I see over here, you can see that this role has been created over here and it appears over here. Now I need to create another role over here for the code build. So I'll search for code build. I'll select the use case as code build, and I'll go to next, permissions. It auto populates the policy name for us, and if you want to go into the JSON to look at what it's actually doing, what actions does it perform, and what kind of permission does it create, and you can see that this creates a permission for all the resources, adds a policy for all the resources. So you can either modify it if you know what you're doing, or you can just go with the default setting. I'll go with the default setting and I'll click next, and then I'll create a code deploy role over here and create a role for this as well. And now you can see that both the rules appear over here, and after that we need to create a policy. So if I come over here in the policies and I'll go into create policies, and then I'll switch to JSON, and over here in the documentation you can see that in the fourth step I'll add the link to this documentation in the description so that you can access it. If I go over here in the console, you can see that I have been provided with the JSON already. So you can see that this is the JSON. So I'll just copy it from here and then I'll paste it over here and replace this, and I'll review the policy at the end. By the way, if I go back over here, you can see that this also allows the policy for all the resources, and allows the access to fetch and list all the S3 instances. If you want to modify it or restrict it to a certain region or a certain S3 instance, you can use these settings that are provided below it. So you can see that over here it provides another list of resources and everything over here. So if you want to modify it, you can come over here and do that according to your specific choice. So I'll just go ahead and review the policy. I'll add in a name over here, ec2-code deploy.policy, and then I'll create this policy. And if I search over here, you can see that I have my policy over here. After this has been done, what I'll do is I'll launch an EC2 instance. So I'll go over here in my EC2 instances. I currently have an instance running, so I'll just terminate this one, and yes, terminate, and I'll launch instance over here. So I'll be launching a Splunk application instance that is already available over here for me. You can launch any instance according to you. I'm using the Splunk instance because I would be doing some extra things that I want to test on it after creating this code pipeline. So if you want to use any of the other Amazon Linux or Red Hat or Ubuntu, whatever you want to use, you can go ahead with that. So I'll select this. By the way, this is a Red Hat based Linux. On bench Splunk is already set up. If you don't know what Splunk is, just Google it, and it's quite an amazing thing to dive into. So do take a look at that too if you want to. So I'll select the free tier and I'll move to the next section. Over here I'll select the IAM role that I've already created for this EC2 code deploy, okay, in the previous step. So if you are launching this instance using Terraform or any other infrastructure as code service, so you would need to specify the IAM role if you want to create a code pipeline linked to this EC2 instance. So I'll select this over here, and at the bottom, when we launch the instance, we want the code deploy agent to be running on this instance so that our code pipeline can communicate with this EC2 instance. So for that, I'll also list this link over here in the description. You can see that the instructions have been provided over here. So I'll just copy these instructions. So if I'm using this is a Red Hat based Linux flavor, so I'll copy these instructions. If you are using Ubuntu, you can copy these. If you are using Windows, you can copy these instructions. So for now, I'll copy these and I'll paste it over here, and then I'll replace the bucket name with this. You can see this over here that I would like to replace it with the AWS Code Deploy and the region in which I'm deploying my instance. So I'll just copy paste over here, and I see that I'm in US East 1. So I'll change it to this, and then I'll move to the next stage. Let's skip this. Now I'll add a tag over here. So this over here, I'll add a tag of let's say Splunk and test, okay, and then I'll move to the next, configure security group. I already have a security group that allows all the TCP connections and the ports opened for this EC2 instance, and there's a such connection also open from all the IP addresses, so it's available from anywhere and open to the public internet. If you want to restrict these settings, you can create your own security groups and everything. So for now I'm using this just for testing, and then I'll review and launch it, and launch, and I'll select my key pair. This key I already have created and downloaded on my machine so that I can connect with this instance. So I'll launch this instance. Launch failed. In order to product, you need to accept terms and services. Back to review screen. I didn't accept the terms and services, and then what? AWS Marketplace. Edit AMI. Select next,
यार वो कौन सा मैच देख रहे हो बिगो की वो
next, next, next. Review and launch. Preview instant security group. So I don't want anything to be reviewed. Oh, I think when you select this, there is some kind of I think this instance ID that I've copied is not the correct instance ID. So I'll look into this. Is this the community version? Yes, it is the community version. Then okay. So I'll just instead of this use the Amazon Linux free AMI for now. So I'll select this instance. Sorry for this little hiccup. Just configure security group. Review and launch. Let's launch this now. Yeah, so actually there was a problem with that particular AMI that I was using. So I'll just launch this instance and wait for it to launch. Until then I'll just copy this, and what I'll do is I'll connect to it from my local machine. So I'll do SSH root at the no, not the root user EC2 dash. Sorry, first I need to add the key that I already have added in my folder. Identity added, and then what I'll do is I'll try connecting to it using the public DNS. Yes. Okay, and now what I'll do is I'll try to verify if a code pipeline is running. The code deploy agent status. Service code deploy dot agent status. Just check again quickly. I think I've forgotten the command. So I'll do a quick search on it. Sudo service code deploy agent status. Just copy it and paste it over here, and you can see that it's running. What did I do wrong over here? Oh, sorry, that was a silly mistake on my end. So it's already running. So the next thing that we need to do is, now that our instance is running, we can search over here for code deploy. I'll open it up over here, and then in code deploy we will create an application. I'll enter it test code deploy app, and then I'll select the compute platform as EC2. I'll create the application, then after the application has been created, I'll create a deployment group for it. So I'll name it, let's say EC2 code deployment group. And you can see that it already shows me an option with the code deploy role that we have already created in the initial steps. So I'll select this role, and over here let this be the default option. Over here in the Amazon EC2 instances, I'll select this, and I'll add the key that the tags that I've created for this particular instance. So if I open up the AWS console over here, and then if I go into EC2 instances and check the tags that I've created for my instance, so over here in the tags you can see that the key is Splunk and the value is test. So I've selected the correct tags over here, and then just disable this load balancing, and everything looks good. We can go ahead and create the deployment group. Once the deployment group has been created, yes, we are good to move to the code pipeline section and create the code pipeline. So you can search over here, or I already have it over here because I've accessed it before. So I'll go into code pipeline, and I'll go into the option to create the code pipeline. I'll name this test pipeline. Let this create a new service role, so we don't have to create this role manually. And in the advanced setting, let these be the default options. Now let's move next. So this already exists, so what I'll do is add a number to it. Then in the source provider, as we have our GitHub repository on the repository, our code on GitHub, so we'll select GitHub from here, and then we'll connect to GitHub. I already have my GitHub account connected with my AWS account, but if you don't have it connected, you'll be presented with a pop-up that would ask you for your username and password, and then would ask you for certain permissions that you need to provide to this particular AWS account in order to access your GitHub account. So now that you have successfully configured the action, okay, but why is it not showing me the repositories? No options. Okay, now it's showing me. So I already have a demo setup over here, and you can see that I have this over here. I'll select the branch over here, the master branch. I'll just open it up quickly over here. In my GitHub account, so that you can see this is the repository, and let this be the default GitHub webhook. So whenever we do a commit, or you can even select the option on which you need to trigger the deployment. So we'll see this in the next section, but let it be the GitHub webhooks option selected over here. We'll proceed to next, and the build stage, we don't need to build our application, so we'll skip this for now. And then in the deploy provider, we'll select AWS Code Deploy, and now you can see that the application that we created in the previous step is in the code deploy section. You can see it over here, and the deployment group is also available over here. We'll move to the next stage, and before we create this pipeline, you need to create this app spec file in your GitHub repository. So this would tell your code pipeline where to copy the code that you have in your GitHub repository. So this would copy the code in this directory var www.html and WordPress. Okay, so there are many options over here available. So if you want to take a look over here in the app spec section, I'll also add the link to this document as well in the description. So you can see that there are a lot of options over here that are available for you to use. So if you want to create hooks that should be triggered before the code is cloned or after the code is cloned into the EC2 instance and before the build happens, so all these kind of hooks and operations are available to you in this app spec file. So you need to create and push this file into the GitHub repo. So I'll open up a new tab over here, and then I'll move into this directory, and I'll do a git status to check if my repository is up to date. You can see that this is up to date. And once you have created this file, the app spec file, and pushed it into your GitHub repository, then you can go ahead and create the pipeline. So currently I'll show you that in my EC2 instance over here, you can see that we don't have any www the WordPress directory, and we already have it cloned over here. This succeeded, and this is running over here. This would succeed as well, because you can see that we already got the code over here in the directory. So this was quite quick. I wasn't expecting this. So let's wait for this to succeed, and then we'll try to commit something else into our GitHub repository to see if that change is pushed to the EC2 instance. So you can see that this has succeeded. And now if I go into my GitHub repository and go into settings and go into webhooks, you can see that a webhook by default is created for us. And if I edit it, it would ask me for my password. If I scroll down over here, and you can see that currently the trigger is set to just the push event, but you can modify it using multiple events on like pull requests created or merge of repository branches, or if a release is made. So you can modify it according to your choice. So I'll just move back over here, and now what we'll try to do is, currently you can see that the test file just has my name. Okay, and I'll also show it to you in GitHub. The test file just has my name in it. So what we'll do is we'll modify this file on our local machine and then push it to GitHub and see if it triggers a deployment on the server. So what I'll do is I'll add a test line over here. Now I'll add it and then I'll commit it. And then I'll do a git push. As soon as I do a git push, a new deployment should be triggered over here, and you can see that this has triggered a new deployment over here and it's in progress. And once this finishes, we should see the change over here in our test file. Okay, so it has been deleted. So we'll just wait for this to finish and then we'll again see. So it has succeeded. You can see it over here. Now if I move back over here and go back into the directory, you can see that our test line has been added and the code has been pushed to the EC2 instance that we have created. So this is how you can create the code pipeline, and that's it for now. I hope you liked my video, and please give it a like and sub to my channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.